Hi and welcome to this workshop for my course, Renaissance of the Soul. This workshop is all about healing from within. Some people call it healing the inner child. Others, probably me, would rather call it changing patterns and old beliefs from childhood that we still carry through life today. Going together through this workshop, I would like to help you to understand why you behave the way you behave today in your daily life. Why are your relationships with your partner, your children, your colleagues, and your friends just the way they are at the moment? Why are you feeling the way you feel? May it be frustration, sadness, loneliness, fear, anger, and the resulting behavior that might have become a burden for you today as well. We eat too much. We smoke and we drink too much. We distract ourselves too much. We procrastinate. We do so many things, even though we know that those things are not really good for us. Yet we still keep doing them. The key is to understand that those processes are running outside of your conscious awareness. They are automated processes activated by your subconscious mind, or as some say, your inner child. So I invite you today to take some time for yourself and go with me through this workshop. All I'm asking you is to be present with me, really listening and taking things in that I want to say. My wish for you is for you to understand why you live the way you live at the moment and why you have those challenges in certain areas of your life. Those challenges might be internal challenges, challenges with your thoughts and feelings, or external ones, difficulties in relationships, like, for example, why am I always picking the wrong partner? Or maybe problems in your professional life, as in feeling stuck in what you do, or your behavior in general. So this workshop is for you if you want to get an understanding of your relationship issues, and if you want to understand why you sometimes really struggle emotionally. And you will find out that all of those things have something in common. The issues often don't arise from the outside, but from the inside. And you will find out how to get rid of this inner critic that might follow you around most of the time. You know, this inner voice that keeps pressuring us, that keeps devaluing us, that keeps gaslighting us, that keeps comparing us with others, and we always fall short. That voice that convinces us that we are still not good enough. We still haven't arrived. My hope is you will also understand why you value material things so much. Why it is so important for you to have that specific house, that specific car, those specific clothes. Or why do you keep pleasing people all the time, when even it is to your own detriment? Why do you try to always look perfect? Perfect weight, perfect body, perfect facade. Why do you feel the urge to optimize yourself to become perfect, curated, Instagrammable? And last but not least, I hope to help you to understand why you can't seem to let go of old feelings from the past long ago. And that is now a result of those learnings during the most important early years of your life. I needed to change the camera angle. It's lightning issues. Well, okay. And you might be skeptical now, thinking, well, I had a great childhood. I had everything. And this is great. I'm not here to convince you of the opposite. It's not only huge traumatic events that shape us. All we experience has an influence. And this can be as subtle as just too much of something. For example, having been spoiled as a child and having been smothered with love and attention, can also have devastating consequences later in life. Those things can leave you feeling very insecure and unstable in life. It might contribute to you not trusting your own choices and decisions because you never had to. And you never had the chance to make your own decisions and see for yourself. So today it's all about the core needs we have as children, how they might have been heard, and how they may result in you living your life the way you live it today in terms of how you feel, think, and behave in the world around you. I believe we all have stories to tell, short or longer stories about wounds we have experienced in one shape or form or another. It may be mobbing at school. It may be parents that neglected us or did the opposite, were very controlling. It might be that even though our parents really did their best at that time, they were carrying their own issues around, and it didn't pass you by. Childhood wounds come in all colors and sizes. As children, we can't and we don't want to see that our parents are also just human beings that are flawed. They mean the world to us. They are perfect and always right. You might know this. Even when a child has experienced the worst of the worst, they still do love their parents in most cases. As children, we tend to idealize our parents and turn a blind eye to the heaviness. A lot of people experience this even in adulthood. Let me tell you about Sophie. Of course, it's not her real name. Sophie had to be her mother's everything. Excuse me. She needed to be her best friend, her partner, not sexually, but companion-wise, her trash bin for all her problems. She needed to take on responsibility for her mother's well-being, her mother's happiness, and had to neglect her own wishes, needs, boundaries, well-being, essentially. The father was mostly absent emotionally and physically. She thought she had a happy childhood because she didn't have to go through worse than that, so to speak. The way she grew up was her normal, her familiar. She grew up and was struggling massively with herself. She said about herself, she is a perfectionist. And she said it as if it's deserving a medal. She was completely cut off from the awareness that this might cause her problems, actually, in her life. And she was as well struggling with pleasing people all the time. Of course, this showed especially at work, where she was taking on too much work, coming from all sides, running herself into burnout. What she has learned in childhood, not to feel her needs and wants, not to have strong boundaries for her well-being, being responsible for everybody's happiness, became a problem that only a complete breakdown could make her aware of. And then she decided she didn't want to live with this anymore. If she would have acknowledged as a child that her parents are not those perfect human beings that are right at all times, it could have been that she would have lost all her internal safety net. To push away that parents are flawed kept her sane, so to speak, at that time. My point here is, and I want to make this very clear, I'm not at all about blaming the parents. No. It is about finding out where and how did we learn to think and feel about certain things in the way we do, and where and how can we let go of those old patterns? A lot of people try to solve the problem on the surface. Those solutions are either becoming part of the problem, see unhealthy habits for example, or they try to solve the problem with willpower. What we rather want is to solve the problem from within, so we can feel whole, we can be ourselves and enjoy it. We can be more joyful, creative. We can live healthier relationships. We can be more satisfied at work. And that is what it is all about. And I want to give you this gift of looking a little bit deeper than you might have been used to. To sum it up, a lot of problems you might be experiencing today are actually solutions your mind was trying to find in order to solve the problem underneath. Bad habits and addictions can be that one way you try to solve the problem. From eating, drinking, shopping, to social media, all the way to working too much. It can be an expression of something that we try to run away from. We experience certain emotions and try to compensate them with a certain behavior. Another way to try to solve challenging emotions could be the tendency to be perfect and in control at all times, or the urge to optimize yourself externally through sport or beauty surgery. The external facade works like a mask, like an armor that can be very protective. People are afraid to just be who they are. Sometimes they can't even remember or get in touch with who they are anymore. Or we find the need to please everyone, to swallow our views and opinions on things, to not speak up, to fulfill other people's needs and wants and take care of their well-being, neglecting our own. Oftentimes those people develop a helper syndrome, feeling the need to fix everything and everyone to save them to the point of their own detriment. This, of course, can lead to serious mental and physical problems. Some people regress back and behave and even sound like little children, the little girl or the little boy. Some cut themselves off of any connection to themselves and to others, even though this is what they crave the most. They get cold and detached, perhaps respond in passive-aggressive ways. They often intellectualize everything. They live in their head, so to speak, in order not to feel. Others show the opposite, in extreme attachment, even to toxic partners. They feel needy and codependent, incapable of letting go what is really not good for them. They know it's not good. They know it's not healthy for them, and still they hang on. This often goes hand in hand with a victim mentality. They feel helpless and hopeless, waiting for someone or something to come and save them. And then we have attention seekers, those who always look for outside validation and attention, even if the attention they receive is not the best one. Even bad publicity is good publicity because it is publicity. They go with love me, hate me, but never ignore me. And others who behave in the opposite way, avoid contact with people, live rather isolated and seek solace in their own little world. You already see there are so many behavioral strategies that develop from wounds we have experienced as children. And the list certainly goes on. And then we have emotional strategies. People who often feel sad for no apparent reason, fear failure, fear attachment, or people with an incredible active inner critic, strong existential fears and worrying, mistrust towards others and even themselves. Learned helplessness, feeling like they have no power to change anything. Then we have feelings of loneliness, panic attacks, general anxiety, self-doubt, fear of losing something or someone, shame and guilt. So even though there might be no objective reason to experience any of those, a lot of people keep carrying that burden, mostly from the very old past into adulthood. So now I told you about behavioral and emotional strategies, but we also have strategies in terms of our thinking that are results from childhood wounding. Who doesn't know the famous "I am not good enough"? Just to name an example of a recycled thought we keep repeating internally over and over again. Other examples could be I don't want to be a burden for anyone. I'm not lovable. I'm worthless. I always need to achieve something to be better, faster, and jump higher in order to receive love and attention. Or I'm ugly, too short, too big, too fat, too something, not enough, too much of. I always have to be strong, and I always have to fix things myself. I always have to prove myself. I have to be perfect. I will never find my ideal partner. Life conspires against me. Trust is fine, control is better. And this list as well goes on and on and on. So as you see, sometime long ago, certain seeds were planted and lots of weeds had the chance to grow in our garden. All those weeds influence our lives of today heavily in terms of thinking, feeling, and behaving. When we do the work for ourselves and take good care of our garden, listen to its needs, and give enough love, sunlight, nurture, time, patience, and space for it to grow, we can watch an incredible potential within us arising. You might know the joys of seeing flowers beginning to blossom, all the colors, the lush green of grass. This is a pure joy, a celebration of life. And bees and butterflies will join in and live with us in the garden. It's a natural give and take, like in healthy relationships. Those healthy relationships can only grow in a healthy garden. So many people believe their happiness only comes when the right partner knocks on the door. Unfortunately, this is not how it works. When you are good within yourself, from within you are open to a different quality of relationships that will also come just as naturally as bees and butterflies who settle in. Imagine you know again who you are, what you want, and what matters to you, and what is not important. There is direction and such an inner clarity that guides you. And imagine how much more at ease you can go through life because there's trust. Trust in your own abilities and trust in other people. Trust in life. Imagine what this will do for your overall quality of life and your health, mentally and physically. Now I would like to ask you to take a moment and think about the following questions. Why are you here? What specifically caught your interest and intrigue? What are you wishing for? What are you craving? What is it you want to let go of? As long as we live life exclusively externally, expecting the outside to deliver something we want and need, we will stay in a constant fight with ourselves. We will stay frustrated and disappointed because no one is a mind reader and it's no one's job to meet our expectations and be responsible for our own happiness and the way we feel in general. People do what people do, and life is happening. There's nothing you will be able to change about that, no matter how hard you try to change others to please your demands. The only person you can change is you. And when you can change that, so many things around you will change with you. So when you personally think of, why am I here? What pops up for you? My friend John used to be someone who was very hard on himself. He always felt restless and constantly needed to achieve something. He felt he needed to be the best at everything. And yes, he built a successful career out of his drive. He could have been happy, couldn't he? But instead, he started to experience too many sleepless nights, tossing and turning, worrying about the future, and feeling like something was missing in his life. He even developed regular panic attacks, and he couldn't figure out what was happening. And instead, he just tried to ignore them still rushing through his workdays and his life to check every point on the to-do list, to meet everyone's expectations, or rather what he thought those were. He was trying to read the minds of other people, horribly afraid of being rejected and failing somewhere, even though he was so successful in running his own business for years. He was hustling and forcing himself to just go through his days. Of course, he stopped enjoying what he was doing after all. He didn't remember anymore what he wants from life, what is important to him, what he needs, who he is, and who he wants to be. He lost connection to everything that used to bring him joy. And he just felt like a machine, cut off from anything else that makes a human human. And then he began to realize that he was chasing someone else's dream. He started to understand that what he was trying to find through his achievements, his successes, and his people-pleasing behavior didn't bring him the fulfillment and happiness he was looking for. And when he reached a milestone in life, he didn't feel like he has arrived, and then he was already chasing off the next fix, and the next fix, and the next one. There was no end in sight. Where the hell was this and his happiness? Didn't he already try everything to find it? And then it came to him. That was the moment he suddenly knew. It hit him. There was something that needed to change. And this something was him. And it had to be now. That is how his own renaissance of the soul started. He began working on himself, listening to himself, and treating himself with compassion and care. Slowly he calmed down, took time to rest and recharge. And then, when there was this space, he started to get to know himself better and attend to his needs more and more. Yes, slowly, with lots of patience and time, he relearned what he wanted, what matters to him. And then he began to experience some of the joys he was missing for a long time. And things began to move around him as he was moving within himself. My friend John arrived. And I would like to share with you today how John, as he was paying attention to himself and his own patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving, has changed his world and his life. There are some principles that you can take with you today, and my wish for you is that everything that I have shared with you today will be a great beginning of a new chapter for you and your well-being. When you were born into this world, you were like a blank sheet of paper. And there were at that point only 3 things you really needed in life. Only 3 things that ensured your survival and allowed you to develop into a happy human being. And those 3 things are love, safety, and autonomy. I think it's clear what we mean by love. It's the closeness to our parents, our caregivers, physical contact, warmth, connection, care, comfort. When a child feels loved, it opens the door to healthy development. When it doesn't feel loved, just for being there, it won't develop in a healthy way. It might even die. Phew. This sounds really sad. And as I am listing those things, just take a moment to check in with yourself how much or how little love you have received when you were a little child. Did you feel loved for just being you? And when we talk about the second important thing, safety, we mean the deep, innate trust and knowledge that we are safe in this world, safe in our environment, and safe with the people around us. So when a baby cries, it can trust and rely on the fact that someone will be there to comfort them. That makes us feel safe. And this little thing alone is something that most of us have missed at one point or another. It is not a deep-seated trauma per se, but for the baby, a deep learning about the world and their sense of safety. Some of us may still remember, maybe from our own education or our parents, to let babies cry at night when they do, till they fall asleep, all by themselves. Today, science has learned that they are not just simply falling asleep, but they kind of feel so scared that they are alone and abandoned. They get paralyzed, so to speak, and then they switch off like that into sleep. This is not a healthy way of falling asleep, and it doesn't sound like a baby can feel really safe as it lays there alone in the dark. With those little things alone, we can often feel already wounded as children. There is no ill intent, nothing violent has happened, and yet we don't know that as babies. We just know we can't trust and rely on the ones that are closest to us. We don't know if the parents will come and comfort us. We don't have a concept of time. We don't know how long 1 minute is or 1 hour. And we don't know how that feels like. Everything is in the present for a baby. And everything that happens in the present will get absorbed and learned from. The third important principle we need to survive and thrive is autonomy or freedom. Our freedom to be, to do things, to discover and explore the world around us. How many of us can really say they were allowed to do that and to just be themselves? There is a study done by Harvard that found out that on average, a person around the age of 18 years young received around 180,000 negative suggestions, at least in the United States. But I can't imagine it's globally something similar. Suggestions like, you can't do it, you won't make it, you are not good enough. Imagine a bombardment of 180,000 of those in the first years of their life. Try to ignore those. So, we need love, safety, and autonomy. And it's the job of the caregivers to do their best to give it to their children. As babies, we cannot do that ourselves. We need them to help us learn and grow. So what happens when we don't experience the closeness and love, the safety, and the freedom we need? We develop strategies to meet those needs. We try to find out how we can get our needs met by our parents, because that's the people we know. Let's say we didn't receive enough love, but we want this need to be met. It can lead us to doing everything we can and everything we think we must do to get our parents' attention, sympathy, and love. We please where we can. We achieve things. We behave like perfect little creatures, the good girl, the good boy. Because if we do everything the right way, then we will be loved. Or we develop a huge fear of attachment and closeness because it is so unfamiliar for us and not a safe place to be. Some children do not feel seen and heard. The only time they seem to get attention of some sort is when they throw a temper tantrum. So as they grow up, this seems to be a great strategy to get their need for love met. And often those people grow up with lots of anger and rage. They explode as a means to be heard and to be acknowledged. Very dominant or authoritarian parents might have been very controlling during our childhood, and so we didn't have much freedom to grow and freedom to find out what we wanted. We studied what our parents wanted us to study. We got that job they wanted for us. We don't know what we want anymore. Or parents that took all our decision-making from us. There was nothing we had to do. No mistakes could be made because our parents knew best and just did it for us. Some who were growing up in an environment where they never had control over anything, not their privacy, not their decisions, not their life, because life was done for them, can really develop problems with their self-esteem, confidence. They can develop personality disorders, eating disorders, and so forth. So how can we learn to trust ourselves, our own capacities, and our own decisions? How can we make mistakes and learn from them and make it better next time without feeling guilty or shameful? Or parents that do not respect our boundaries, who don't allow us privacy and need to know everything at all times? How can we grow up then and have a sense of what a healthy boundary is? What do we learn more often than not? We learn we are not supposed to have our own needs in the first place. We have no say, we are dependent, and so we might ignore our needs as well. It is just easier that way than to always try to fight for them. And this becomes our familiar setting. When the need for safety is not met, we grow up feeling insecure and with lots of fears. And fears are very uncomfortable. Fears come with so much stress to our system. So some of us develop a huge need for control in order to avoid the feeling of feeling unsafe and the fear that comes with it. They try to control their surroundings, other people, themselves, to the point where they can even develop OCD, for example, jealousy. And in the worst case, they control their partner so obsessively that they coerce them into absolute obedience. And this can get really terrifying and end even deadly. With other words, as we grow up and our internal needs are not met, we go into the world and try to find what we are looking for externally. And this is what we end up doing as adults. We most probably have no memory or not a lot of memory, but we still try to find something that will meet our basic needs of love, safety, and autonomy. We try to find that perfect partner, that perfect house, the perfect career, status. So many of the clients that come to see me ask themselves those questions. Why am I always having the wrong partner? Why am I always feeling so insecure and full of doubts? Why am I filled with so much guilt and shame, and so forth? Now, what I have shared with you today might give you an idea on why you live right now like you live and feel the way you feel. Consciously, as adults, we know it. We know we don't need to feel anxious so often. We can feel safe. But the program has started in childhood and is stored in our subconscious and in our belief systems, in things we have learned early on and believed to be true about the world, about life, about ourselves, other people, and everything in relation. So now we know how we can address those things. And there's no need to go all the way back into childhood and dissect everything we ever experienced. But we can reparent ourselves from our perspective of today. We are those adults that have love, safety, and autonomy to share. And we can begin to share those with ourselves. We can nurture ourselves with corrective experiences and change how we experience ourselves and the world we are living in with time. So what do we need to be able to heal from within? Let me give you 5 points that will be important for you. Point number 1. This seems to be almost too obvious, but the first point is our understanding. We want to understand that we want to weed out our garden, not by ripping out the leaves, but by taking them by the roots. With other words, it doesn't make a lot of sense to look for what we need on the outside. There's nothing internally to win when we optimize our appearance, when we put the responsibility for our happiness to our partners and friends, when we try to chase happiness by achievements and success. So number 2 is, when we understand this, we are able to understand those patterns in our daily lives. We can notice them. We can become consciously aware of them. And we can then make a choice and decide to self-correct them. When you notice, there it is again. I am in people-pleasing mode. You can know that you are looking for love and acceptance. Or you might be angry. And what does this anger want to tell you? Do you need more autonomy? What else do you need? What do you need when you ignore your own boundaries and say yes to everything, when you actually want to say no? Or what does it tell you when you feel anxious? Could it tell you that you need to make sure you are safe? So you can always detect your patterns in the way you think, feel, or behave. That is how they become visible in our daily life. So point number 3, when you become aware of what is going on, you can use some time for yourself and become a gentle, kind, compassionate adult towards your inner child, your subconscious. You can meet yourself with that understanding, approach yourself with love, give yourself the safety and the freedom to be. You are the giving, nurturing adult, the gardener. You have all those skills and resources, abilities already. Everything that you need is there. And point number 4, realizing that you already have all those qualities within you helps you to realize that you are much more than you believe you are. You strengthen your adult by taking care of your inner child, your garden. And so you are becoming the adult you want to become and that you can become. Meet yourself on a regular basis, even if you feel like this is difficult in the beginning. And that is okay. Nobody starts as an expert at anything. If you haven't done it before and it's completely new to you, what do you expect? Or maybe you feel so disconnected that you have no clue what to do and where to look. That's okay too. I personally find guided meditations really helpful to get in touch with that part of me. It's about your powerful imagination and some contact with your senses. We all can do that. We do it differently, yes, but our way is the right way for us. So the 5th point develops from there. As you do all those 4 points, you will create a corrective experience. More than one. You will unlearn old unhelpful patterns and learn something new and different, and your brain creates new neural pathways that will become natural to you. The past is over now, and the world looks and feels different to before. You feel different, you think different, and you behave different, which, funnily enough, in return, creates your safety. You feel more trusting in yourself. The world doesn't seem to be that dangerous place, and it is not out to get you. You create more experiences of love, healthier relationships, nurturing relationships, joyful relationships. You can give love from a safer place, and you are open to receive love. You feel deserving and worthy. And if those things don't help you to feel free and autonomous, I don't know what will. Your happiness becomes a meaningful happiness because it grows from the inside. No one can ever take that away from you. So, okay, let me repeat the 5 points for you so you can write them down if you wish. Number 1 is your understanding, your awareness comes first. Number 2 is, once you are aware of your patterns in your daily life, knowing that this is a result of your childhood strategies, you can begin to self-correct. Number 3, meet yourself with kindness, compassion, and love. You deserve all of it. You deserve to feel loved, safe, and free. Point number 4, strengthen your adult self by realizing your resources and qualities you can share with that part of you that didn't realize you have them yet. And number 5, as a result, you will begin to make corrective experiences in a natural way. So I hope this was helpful and useful for you. Oops. And you learned a thing or two maybe. I would like to thank you for staying with me till the end and paying attention to what I had to share with you today. And here's my invitation for you. I'm working on a course that wants to help you to overcome all those old patterns from childhood so you can live your life feeling loved, loving, safe and free. It is going to have lots of tools and techniques ready for you to use and to practice. We will go deeper into everything that I have shared with you today, so you can sharpen your understanding of yourself and overcome the strategies that you don't need any longer in your life. This course will be presented in a way that you can come back to it whenever you want and need. You don't need to spend hours of your precious time every day. I know we are all so busy these days. But you can take some minutes just to care for yourself and nurture your well-being. That must be doable. So when you are ready and excited to give yourself the gift of healing from within, register yourself onto the waiting list so you will be the first one to know and benefit from a delicious discount. That's my gift to you, and a thank you for being willing to invest in yourself. Just click the link below and I will inform you when this course is available. I'm really looking forward to meeting you on the inside and going this little path together with you. Cheers to your happiness.